Hey YouTube, today we're going to talk about some hired and non-owned auto liability. So first, the hired auto, it's normal for businesses to be running vehicles for travel, especially businesses with salespeople or ones that have to maybe fly to a different city and then rent a car there after they leave the airport. The hired auto liability provides bodily injury and property damage liability for rented vehicles or hired autos. Um, you can also get hired auto physical damage coverage, which is pretty much comprehensive and collision physical damage cover for rented vehicles. Essentially, if you have both of these, it's not necessary to purchase insurance at the rental car company counter. You do still, however, want to buy something called a damage waiver, which is separate from insurance. A damage waiver can provide coverage for things that aren't really covered by hired auto liability or hired auto physical damage. A couple things say, your employee rents a car, gets in a car accident, and the rental car company can no longer use that vehicle because it has to get fixed. So they can try to charge you for diminished value where, the hired rental car was worth X amount before an accident. Now it's worth Y amount as a result of the accident. They can also hit you with loss of use where, since your employee damaged the rental car company can no longer rent that out to someone else. So they have a business income loss. So the damage waiver can cover both of those things. Essentially, if you have the hired auto liability, the hired auto physical damage, and then when you rent the car and you buy the damage waiver, your employee can destroy the car pretty much and just give them the keys back and everything is pretty much taken care of. Moving on to the non-owned auto liability. Non-owned really is for employees. Your employee drives to work, they go get the mail, they go to the bank, pretty much driving on company time for business activities. So non-owned auto liability provides bodily injury and property damage liability coverage for employees' vehicles. Now, there isn't really a way for a business to cover the physical damage of a non-owned auto. So say an employee gets in a car accident on company time. They were going to the bank, they're going to get mail. The non-owned auto liability steps in for that accident only for liability. Their personal auto would likely not cover that because they were on company time. The physical damage, however, to the employee's vehicle would be the responsibility of the employee and most likely covered by the employee's personal auto insurance. It's not really the responsibility of the employer or employer's insurance. So what does this cost? What do underwriters ask? Typically, hired non-owned auto liability can be purchased for a few $100s, less than $1,000, depending on the size of the company, amount of employees, annually. The physical damage, the hired auto physical damage might be an additional $500 annually. Underwriters typically ask for hired car liability, what's the annual cost of hire? How much is your company spending on rental cars per year? How many rental days a year? How many cars are you renting? What types of vehicles are you renting? Are you renting, big kind of cargo trucks or vans, or just kind of small personal passenger vehicles like a sedan or an SUV? For non-owned auto liability, they want to know how many employees or volunteers, routinely use autos, total number of non-owned autos used in the business, total number of employees, not just those driving, but total across the board. Sometimes state law comes into play where there might be different limits needed, but typically it's purchased on a $1 million combined single limit of liability. So that's it for hired and non-owned auto liability. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out.